Hey, welcome back to another video and a happy new year. Now in the last video we've created a simple app with the framework Kivy where we plot a sine wave with a graph widget. We want to continue and deploy this app now on our Android device. I will guide you through all the important steps, and to make sure that you get the same result as I do, please download the example project from the link in the description. So let's start with it. To build the APK file, which we can then install on our Android device, we will need a packager which is called Buildozer. Buildozer only works on Linux, so if you're using Windows, as I do, you will need to use the Ubuntu subsystem. You can also use the virtual machine from Kivy, which you can download from their website. But for this video, I will use the Ubuntu subsystem. Now the first thing we need to do is to make sure that our Ubuntu subsystem is running. If you haven't installed it, you simply go to the Microsoft Store and search for Ubuntu. There you have three options. I have the second one, which is basically the version 20.05.3. You can't just install it from the store. First, you need to activate this feature. You have also some information how to install it in the description. You just hit the Windows key and search for features and select Windows features. Then a small window will pop up and you scroll down to the bottom. And there's an option which is called Windows Subsystem for Linux. Then you activate it and hit OK. This will require a restart, and after it's done, you will need to start the Ubuntu subsystem once and it will finish the installation. The next step is we need to install Buildozer. For this step, we will need to install a lot of stuff. I have already installed Buildozer on it, and I also have installed everything what Buildozer needs to run. So the first thing is we will need to clone the Git repository from Buildozer. For that, we also will need Git. So the first thing we need to do is we enter sudo apt-get install git and we hit enter. Now we can clone the Git repository. Now because I have already cloned it, it has this error message here. You simply enter git clone, then the link of the Git repository, and you hit enter. Then we need to install Python and also the package manager for Python. Then we need to install Cython, autoconf, Java, then some libraries, unzip, zip, and we need to upgrade Cython once. And that's about it. Now, if we enter ls, we can see all our folders in our current location. And we can see the Buildozer project. We enter cd Buildozer to change into this directory. Then we enter ls again. And now we want to install Buildozer by running this setup Python file. We want to make sure that we install Buildozer with Python 3. So we will need to add a 3 to this command. And that's it. This is basically everything what you need to install. Now, if you have some other errors, then simply Google it and you will often find a solution for it, that some library is not installed, and you can find some solution at Stack Overflow where you need to enter a simple command and after it this error doesn't appear anymore. This is basically the workflow how I managed to install Buildozer. Now we simply download the example project. We go to the repository, click on code and click on this button here. So we have the link. We paste it here and simply hit enter. Now we go into this project, in our Kivy project, and we go into the folder graphs. Now, if you're using Buildozer the first time, you will need to initialize Buildozer, which will also create a Buildozer.spec file. And you do that by simply enter Buildozer init and hit enter. Let's take a deeper look at the Buildozer file. Now, this file is the heart of Buildozer because it contains all the configuration for your APK file. One important thing is also that it needs to be placed at the same position as your main Python file, because if you are building it with Buildozer, then Buildozer will search for your main Python file, and if it can't find it, it will stop the process and return an error message. We can set the name of our APK file, and we can also set the version of it. Now, if we have built our APK file, it will store this APK file in this bin folder, and there we can see also the name and the version. If we change the version of it, then it will create a different APK file with a different version, and all APK files will be stored in this bin folder. Now, this line here is very important, which is about which files should be included in our package, in our APK file. We can see here it includes the Python files, PNG files, the Kivy files, and so on. If you're using some different format for pictures like WebP, then you will need to add it here as well, like this. Now we scroll down a bit. We have here requirements. In this line, we basically tell Buildozer what kind of libraries are required for our application. We have here Python 3 and Kivy, and if we would, for example, use matplotlib, we will also need to add it here, like this. Now we have here also two important lines. The first says pre-splash of the application, which is basically the image which you can see on your screen when you launch the app. If we uncomment it, then we can set any image we want. And we can see here it's in the data folder. Currently we don't have a data folder here, so we would need to create one and store our pre-splash PNG file in this data folder. The next line says icon of the application, which is obviously the icon which you can see on your Android device in the application list. Orientation basically means what kind of orientation your app should support. You can force the app that it will use only portrait mode or landscape mode. Portrait mode basically means it will only run in this mode and it will ignore any other orientation. I can run it right now because I have it already on my phone. I mean, this is the app and it ignores all the other orientations. Landscape means it will only run in this orientation and only on one side. Sensor landscape means it will run in this orientation, and if you turn your phone by 180 degrees, it will rotate also the app. And all basically means it will rotate your app depending on how you're holding your smartphone. Now the Kivy version is also very important. We are currently using Kivy 2.0. At least I have installed Kivy 2.0. And here it says we are using a lower version of Kivy. This can actually create some errors because maybe we are using some features which weren't supported in the previous version, and then our APK can't be built. So we need to make sure that we have here the same version as we are using in our project. Full screen basically means if we are using the app on our Android phone in full screen or in a windowed mode. Our example project runs in a windowed mode. You can still see the top bar here with all those icons, with the Wi-Fi icon, and also we can see the home button. If we would set it to full screen, if we set it here to 1, and we can see the top bar here, and also we can see the home button. Now let's scroll down a bit. Here we have the next line, which is pretty important, which is pretty useful. If we're building the app, we will have a lot of logging, which can be quite confusing. And with this line, we can filter this log, so it will only show us all the Python related stuff, because most errors are Python related. And that's about it. Okay, now because my Ubuntu subsystem decided to stop working, I need to do all the steps again, and I need to install all of it again. So this will take a while, and let's see if it works afterwards. And there we are. Okay, now we want to build our APK file with Buildozer. The Buildozer command is simply like this. We need to go into the graphs folder of our application, where our main file is, main Python file, and our Buildozer file. And then we write sudo buildozer, and there are a few options. If you messed something up with your APK file, or something was messed up during the building process, then you can simply hit sudo buildozer android clean, and it will delete everything. If you only want to create the APK file, we simply write sudo buildozer android debug. If we also want to deploy it on our connected Android device, we simply add deploy. We can even run the app on our Android device by adding run. And we can also output the logs on our terminal if we add logcat to it. Now, because we are using Ubuntu subsystem and not Linux, deploy, run, and logcat will not work. There is a different way how to do this, but that's what I will show you afterwards. First, let's just simply create the APK file. And let's see what happens. The first time you run it, it will require a lot of time, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And because it will need to compile everything. And the first time you run it, it will also ask you to agree to some terms. If you have built your project once successfully, then the building process will be much quicker. So here we have now those terms, and we need to simply agree with them. And now we simply need to wait until the building process is finished. Okay, we need to agree a second time. Okay, we have here now some error. Okay, I have now finished building my APK file. I've installed everything successfully. Now there's one more thing about Buildozer. There was a new commit in the Git repository. If you run it with the newest version of Buildozer, it will most likely not work. And you will get an error message. You will get this error message here. So basically what you need to do is you go to your Buildozer file and search for this line here, where it says Python for Android branch to use defaults to master. And you change it to develop. And that's about it. And after that, you can run Buildozer and it will build your APK successfully. Now, how do we get our APK file to our Android device? We will need to use the Android debug bridge. The Android debug bridge is basically a connection between your PC and your Android phone, and it's mainly for debugging. Buildozer actually uses the Android debug bridge as well, but because it's configured for Linux, it won't work on Windows. For Windows, we need to do a few additional steps. So what you can see here is on the top left, I have my Windows command line. And on the bottom left, I have the Ubuntu subsystem. First, we will download the Android debug bridge tool for Windows. For that, you can simply download it from this link here. You can find this link in the description. And you need to make sure that it has this number here, 27.0.0. This is not the version of the Android debug bridge. It's a zip file with a few other tools, and in it we have the Android debug bridge tool, which we are going to need. Then we need to extract it. And here we have the Android debug bridge tool. We can simply drag this file and drop it into the command line. So this way we get the path of it. We want to change to this directory, and then we can simply run it. We'll check the version of it, and it says 1.0.39. And we need the same version on our Ubuntu subsystem. On our Ubuntu subsystem, we simply enter sudo apt-get-adb to install the Android debug bridge. Now in the next step, we need to connect our Android device to our PC, and we need to go to Settings. Then we scroll down to the bottom. We click on About Phone. We scroll down to the bottom again and click 7 times on build number. And now we are in developer mode. We go back, click on System, Advanced, and Developer Options. Now we can see we are in developer mode, and we enable Stay Awake. Then we scroll down a bit and activate USB debugging. And we click on OK. So that's it for our smartphone. Now with the command adb devices, we can see which devices we have connected. And we can see our Android device. And now we need to start the Android debug bridge server on a specific port. And we do that by enter adb, TCP/IP, and the port 5555. And then we need to click on Allow again and on Ubuntu. But first we need to check the IP of our Android device. So we click on Settings and About Phone. And we scroll down. In my case, I have the IP 192.168.0.8. On the Ubuntu subsystem, I simply enter adb, connect my IP, and then the port. Then I need to click on Allow again, and that's about it. Now I should see this device also in Ubuntu. Yeah. Now we can deploy our APK file to our Android device, and we can find the APK file in our Kivy project in the bin folder. And then we simply enter adb -s and then our device ID. We only need to enter the first letters, and then we simply can hit tab. Then we enter install and the name of our APK file. Now for me it failed the first time because I have already installed it. Now I've uninstalled it and tried it again, and it worked. Now we can start our Kivy app. That's our Kivy app. And it will crash. Now it would be good to know what actually happened. Why does it crash? Currently we don't have any logging, and what we are going to do, we will use the Android debug bridge again. There's a command for it. We simply write adb-s and again our device ID, logcat, this command here. This will basically output only the Python related stuff. So let's run it. And there we get our logging. And we can already see our error. The module Kivy garden is missing. We need to add this library, this widget, to our Buildozer file. I open it with PyCharm and I add Kivy garden. It's not simply called Kivy garden, it's Kivy garden graph. And I will also, just for the case, rename Kivy to Kivy 2.00, and here we change it also to 2.00. We need to add numpy, and we need to build the APK file again. So this is basically the workflow how you debug your app and make sure that it's actually running on your Android device. We finally are finished with the build process for the APK file. It really took a while, I think more than an hour, and only because of NumPy. And as we can see, the app already runs. I've already tested it. It runs right now directly on my Android device, and everything works fine. You can check the logging. And as we can see, there are no more errors. Everything just seems to work. Congratulations, you made it to the end of this video, and we finally have a working app on our Android device. I hope you could learn something from this video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.